Welcome to another episode on my parents, Smitty and Joann. Part 8 is all about me. Well, kind of. According to Mom, she and Dad always wanted a bunch of kids. Be careful what you wish for, they say.
Your dad and I both wanted children. We decided before we were married that we would adopt children. We thought we would have 2 by natural birth and then adopt 2. And it didn't work out that way. It worked out just the reverse. We adopted 2 and then we had 2.
Not sure what happened, but after 8 years of marriage, they still didn't have kids. But in the early 1950s, not long after World War II, it was fairly easy to adopt a child in Germany, where Dad had already been stationed for about a year. The first child they adopted turned out to be my sister Sarah. She was around 4 months old when they brought her home. Then came my older brother Dennis, who was already 3 when they adopted him, so he spoke nothing but German. And then, right after, Mom became pregnant with me.
You were real long. You weighed 7.5 pounds. And your skin was totally dry. And you were almost blue. And Dad would stand at the end of the line. See, they didn't let dads anywhere near him. And he would get at the end of the line because he didn't want anybody to see the flake baby. But within 1 month, he was the one that wanted to take you back out there for your 1-month checkup. You know why? You were the most gorgeous baby I have ever seen. So, here's Papa going out with this beautiful boy. Because all the other papas will be out there with theirs at the same time. Well, no, you didn't. You turned out to be the judge. That's what the babysitter calls you. She said he's sitting there in judgment. He's the judge.
So, from no kids to 3 little devils in a little over a year. Did I mention I was an Army brat? Back then, the Army moved you around a lot, and when I was just a few months old, my new family took off for Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Well, actually, Dad took off for the new assignment, and he left Mom there to lug 3 new kids across the Atlantic by herself. Mom said it was about a 22-hour trip, and then I threw up on her somewhere over Scotland. 2 of us were in diapers, by the way. Me and Sarah. Remember the old cloth ones?
We go back to Fort Leavenworth. I don't have a dryer. I hang the diapers. Sarah's back in diapers again because of that flight. You in diapers. I hang the diapers on the line. I think they're dry. I bring them in. What they were frozen. They weren't dry, they were frozen. So that's how we got the first TV. Your dad wanted to watch the A&M Texas game, and I wanted a dryer. So we made a deal, because I didn't want a TV. And he got his TV and I got my dryer.
Not sure Dad enjoyed that game because the Aggies lost 20-0. Typical Aggies. But guess what happened 5 years later? Yep, my little brother John happened. Of course, my grandmother wasn't happy about it.
John was quite a surprise. I had just started you in the kindergarten, not kindergarten, whatever, it's nursery school, down in that little school that you went to. And I had come back home, and all of a sudden I realized there was an old familiar feeling. And Mother came up for Christmas, and I told her then, I said, Mother, I'm pregnant. What? How can I explain this to my friends? And I said, what do you mean explain it to your friends? Well, you have to explain. She went home. She went home. She wouldn't stay. She didn't stay for Christmas.
Oh, good old Grandma. I'm not sure if it was the thought of her daughter having casual sex that upset her, or that she might actually have to do something. But anyways, my parents had 4 Army brats in 5 years. I lived in 11 different places my first 14 years of life, but being an Army brat was fun sometimes. Lots of going on if I remember.
We lived in so many different places, Joe, one year to the next. We went to Fort Leavenworth. That was our second time to live there. You were there as an infant. Fort Leavenworth, we lived in those apartments with the parade ground in front of us, where the band played every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. Armed Services Day, Dad would take you out to where they showed all the guns and things. Do you remember that?
Some of the other bases we lived on were Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and Fort Riley, Kansas. Lots of Old West history in those places, and we lived in some of the original housing that was built for the troops stationed there over 100 years before. I remember living across the street from the house George Custer lived in right before he met his early demise at the Little Bighorn.
People don't live in that house anymore. They do have it as a museum now. But when we lived there, the Pipers lived on one side and the Wolves lived on the other side. Army posts, I don't know what they're like now, but the ones we lived on were very, very safe for children. And there was a lot for children to do.
I shouldn't have to tell you that you won't get rich being an Army officer. My dad certainly didn't, especially back in the 1950s and 1960s. So Mom did not marry my dad for his money.
I think of a great entertainment was in Arlington. Of course, I only had 3 children then. But the big outing was to go down to a place like Wheeler Schnitzel, sit in the car, and eat hot dogs. That was an outing for us. But that was all the money we had, too. We just didn't have any money when we lived there.
And then there are the cars we had. I don't really remember them being Cadillacs.
And I got in the car with my high heel, and the heel went through the floor, and it rusted out. And we had to buy a car. And we were having to move. And we knew we were going to a civilian situation where it'd be expensive for us. So Daddy borrowed some money, and it was one of these loans where payment on demand, the high interest rate, 18% then. And he borrowed $1,100 so we could buy a new car. And we bought the first station wagon.
To be perfectly honest, I had no idea we were poor. A vacation for us was moving. But Mom did seem to have a philosophy about raising 4 distinctly different kids.
No, I enjoyed each one of you for the person you were. I looked at you as individuals and not as a group. That may have been a mistake. We tried not to disagree in front of each other, of you all. And if we had a disagreement about the way we were handling something, we did it in private, not in front of you all. That was a basic rule. I think maybe I would have paid more attention to your lessons. But I did you all the way I was done. My father said, that is your work, you do it.
Unfortunately, Dad died right before Thanksgiving in 1969. I was 14 years old. We were stationed in Ansbach, Germany at the time, where Dad was a commandant of the base, and the Army gave my mother 3 days to decide where to move. Without ever having a real home, Mom had to make a decision. For some wild reason, she chose El Paso, Texas. Probably because Dad had talked about retiring there and teaching out at UTEP. None of us had ever been to El Paso. Not even Mom. But off we went. If my mother was afraid, she didn't show it.
I wouldn't say Daddy's death was a disappointment. But it's been the hardest thing in my life. I had to face the fact that I was it. I didn't have any backing from your father. And while I wasn't the best mother in the world, I didn't know it at the time.
Mom was incredible. She moved us to El Paso, got us a home, and kept us together as a family. We weren't the perfect kids, but given the circumstances, we didn't turn out that bad.
I am proud of all of you. I think you've turned out beautifully. You've had to face a lot of things, and I think all of you have come through. None of you took drugs. None of you wound up in jail. All of you pushed your way through college. I didn't.
If Mom was ever disappointed in any of us, she never said so. But there was this one thing.
You were the one I thought was going to be a minister. Well, you still could be. You still could be.
Sorry to disappoint you, Moms. Not happening. I knew this was probably going to be the last time I'd get an opportunity to sit my mom down and ask her questions. So we talked about goals in life.
I never had any goals. All of this is new. This came about through all this turmoil you were talking about, where people have to, you're born and you immediately your parent tells you, now we're going to do some goal setting. Nobody ever told me I had to set a goal. I didn't set a goal.
My mother was one of the most positive people I've known, so my last question to her was how she did it.
I've always been blessed with a rather happy disposition. I mean, I'm always up. If you didn't have the valleys, they say, you can enjoy the mountains. And that's true.
So now you know where I get my happy disposition from. Not too long after that last recording in her kitchen, my mom passed away. She's been gone several years now, and while some of my memories about her fade, my admiration for what she accomplished only grows stronger. I couldn't have asked for a better role model. My mother was an amazing human being.